Hi, welcome to the Glow Interviews. My name is Katie Oman and I am a psychic, author, motivational speaker and coach. The Glow Interviews is a place where we can meet some really inspirational people who are a light in the darkness and will leave us feeling empowered and hopeful of a brighter tomorrow. All of the contact details for both myself and my guests are in the description box below, so go and check that out if you want to contact either of us. Today's guest is the very wonderful Shelley Knight. She is the host of the award-winning Positive Changes, a Self-Kick podcast. She has won runner-up in the Best Interview Podcast category and fourth place in the Listener's Choice Award at the Podcasting for Business Awards. Yes, she did. She is also the author of the book Positive Changes, a Self-Kick book. Shelley is trained in transformational regression therapy, spiritual coaching, spiritual development, holistic diagnosis skills, mindfulness, NLP, herbalism, and dream therapy. She works as an intuitive tarot reader and coach. She is one very busy woman. Basically, that's all you have to know. I'm so honoured that she's here today to chat with me, and she's taken the time out of that busy schedule. So, hi, Shelley. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so excited, Katie, I tell you.
Hopefully you can keep my teeth in, right?
Yeah, we try. I'm going to try and behave to be a guest because I'm so used to being host. I'm going to behave.
Yes, I know. It's a shift, but I think it's a good one, right? It has to work both sides. I know. So
we've got this.
First things first, we've obviously had a year, shall we say. So how has the pandemic affected you on a personal level? Has it been something that you think's changed you as a person?
I'm one of those weird ones. I absolutely loved it. And I always hesitate when I say that, Katie, because everyone, there's been like job losses, life losses, financial losses, so much loss. But I had an amazing year, and it's probably been one of my happiest years since about 2013. I am annoyingly positive anyway, but I've loved it. I mean, my husband had no work. I wasn't going into work, but we had our children around us, and we had our mad dog, and I wrote my second book really quickly, got a book deal, and it was just, I loved it. I know it sounds really like, oh my God, we hate her already, but I absolutely loved it. I felt really blessed. And I think I'm just like that, though, that, during our challenging times, I always look for that glimmer of hope. And I absolutely loved it.
I think it's good. I mean, it's always important, I think, to find the blessing in the lesson. Even if it's very small and you have to look really, really hard, there's always something that you can kind of hold on to, right? There's something that's going to pull you through when things are really bleak and you're fed up and you're having a rubbish day. There's always something to be grateful for.
Yeah, I'm a great believer that we really have to look what's happening for us rather than to us. Do you mean there has to be a lesson in there, really? And it is really hard. There has been losses for us, like financial. We haven't seen our friends, our parents and things like that. But we've all been together. Used to wait for those summer holidays so you could have that connection. But we had it for half a year and still going. But I love it. But I am a really down-to-earth person. Do you know what I mean? That I do love like the big family dinners, the home baking, the walks, rugby tackling the dog kind of thing. So yeah, I was in my element.
Bless you. So obviously in your bio, I mentioned your award-winning podcast, which is wonderful. And I will leave all the links down below for you to go and check out because it is really, really good. Not now, watch this video and then go and listen to her podcast, obviously. But what led you to create this in the first place?
My teenage son.
Okay.
yeah, that's it. So I wrote Positive Changes, a self-kick book, after a really difficult point in my life. Whilst I'm really positive, I had a huge psychological journey. And it's what I call my semicolon moment. I really wanted to quit this thing called life, like end my story. But I'm here, so I carried on. But the book Positive Changes, it's all about, as we said earlier, when you find that really difficult, challenging thing, just know it gets better and carry on. And so I wrote the book, and it is quite feisty. It's that ex-nurse in me with my warped humour. And it's like, I don't know, 300 different tools, stories, blogs, everything, because it's not one way. So one will tell you to slow down, one will say speed up what you're doing, your lazy thing. And that's the book. But my teenage son used to read loads of books, and then he went to secondary school, hated it. So he stopped reading, which made me realise I want to help people know there's more to life. I want people, a huge thing about, suicide prevention and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, well, not everyone's a reader. I need to do more. But I was painfully shy, Katie. When you listen to the first episodes, when it's a solo show, I sound petrified, like I've got a broom up my bum. I was absolutely nervous as hell. But the podcast came about because I thought if it saves one life or inspires one life, I'll feel the fear and do it anyway, kind of thing. But I'd never listened to a podcast. But I thought, how hard could it be? So yeah, I did that. And then at 8 months, by then it's gone into an interview show, because people say, I love your show, but can I share my story of positive change and the tools I use? I was like, absolutely. Because my journey is a lot about loss of loved ones, infertility, but that's quite limited. So there's people who've done addiction, also infertility, relationships and things like that. So yeah, it morphed into an interview show, and then went on to win an award at 8 months. And I was like, oh my goodness, because you sort of make these things, don't you? You think, oh, no one's listening, but I'm happy. Bumbling along. And yeah, so it's been recognised for helping like mental health, which is brilliant. I feel like I'm still nursing, but without the night shifts. I'm still helping people in their lives.
Oh, I like that. It's like holistic health, right? It's like a real approaching it from a different direction. I like that thought. It's good.
Yeah.
And of course, you get to speak to, I know doing these, you get to speak to some really different and interesting people, and everyone's got story to tell. That's what you realise.
Yeah, and I think I know from myself, my journey, I think, why am I going through this? I'm so hard done by. But then I think when you get to the stage where you can share your story, you become someone else's survival guide. There's a real healing in that. And so like I get triggered quite a lot. There's episodes where I laugh, but there's a lot where I cry. I think I've healed, and you sort of like do snot bubbles on air. It's why I don't really use YouTube really. In podcasts they can just sort of go, you sort of like dabbing away, but it is a really emotional show, but it really helps too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a really good release for people, having done a lot of obviously doing this and doing women's empowerment and stuff. I know that your story is everything, and there is real power in that, because it helps other people if they can resonate with you and see that there's a way through from where they're at to where they want to be, and somebody else has done that. It kind of inspires them that maybe I can do that too. It's that can be very healing in itself, can't it?
Yeah, because I think we always think like I'm stuck and I'm so alone and we feel invisible, when I think a simple show, whether it's the laughter one or the crying one, there'll be something in there where you just think, I'm not alone, and I'm going to try and apply that, so yeah, we've always got to try and inspire people.
Yeah, definitely. And how did it feel to win the award? Well, 2 awards. That must have been mind blowing for you.
Yeah, I haven't got words really. I just amazed. Anyone that's listening, it's not a rubbish show. That's not why I'm amazed. Because I think in life, when we sort of work really hard, like this morning, I was doing sort of all these business posts and social media posts, and that's quite almost draining sometimes. You sort of try to force out to be present in the saturation of social media. But the podcasting lights me up. It truly does. I just feel really blessed. I think because it's so easy and it's such a joy that I wasn't expecting it, because it didn't feel like work. That sort of thing, do something you love, you never have to work another day in your life, kind of cliche. But it is, it's just, especially during lockdown when I was recording, I was still seeing people, and talking. It's like the best life ever.
Well, exactly, and that's one of the reasons I created this, was it's like I wanted to connect and reach out to people. So it was like a way to have a chat without having sitting down in person, wasn't it? So connection is everything. Yeah,
and and I've had to find a word to be amazing, but I am quite a down-to-earth girl, so it's not really me that's amazing, it's the guests, because how long have they been living with their stories and their pain and things, for them to courageously step out and speak to some crazy ex-nurse, it's just sort of amazing. So really it's the awards for them, and I'm like grateful.
Yeah, but you're amazing because you've held that space, you've created that platform, and that in itself is amazing, because they've got somewhere to share their story. So without that, they may not, you know. So don't. I think it's a combination. It's kind of the point.
I'll share. Sharing is caring.
So you mentioned that you used to be a nurse. So what led you into that work that you used to do, and what brought you out of that work that you used to do?
I could go into past lives, Katie. So I've been a nurse in past lives. So I think I was just destined to do it in this one. But I am one of those people who likes to be of service. I like to have purpose. You know what I mean? I'm not really, I have tried like to work in sort of like offices and things like that and behave and conform. It's not really me. I like more the human connection and the medicine. I love all things like that. So that's what led it into there, because, you know, I've nursed like my family through illness and things like that. And I've just got that really caring nature. But what led me out was my own life. As I said earlier, like I had a huge infertility journey. Lost many family along the way. Like we've got no grandparents, my husband and I. We've obviously lost children along the way and things like that. And I think from everything I've lost in life, or every challenge I've had in life, I've grown. And so, like, you know, if you just look back on your life, like anyone that's listening today, if you're in something and it feels really overwhelming, you won't see the lesson in today, and it will hurt like hell. But when you come out the other side, maybe a decade later even, you'll be like, that's why I went through it. So I went into nursing. I thought, you know, I want to be a carer, but actually it was all the losses during my nursing that took me along to where I should be, which is we're more than our physical body. And when I used to witness deaths, I worked at end of life as a chemotherapy nurse. We're more than that, you know, like when I used to be with people, I'd see the soul leave, the energies, the temperatures and things like that. Just the beautiful life lessons I learned at end of life. It's like not the 5 regrets that I know a lady wrote about, but mine's more like life lessons I learned from the dying. And I really do live my life by them. But I just didn't want to be nursing anymore. I was getting old and wrinkly. I couldn't cope with night shifts. I know it's a caring profession, but for me, I found it quite bitchy. I do pick up on a lot of energies, but I saw that there's more than a physical body. We're more than just this life. For me, this is my beliefs. Please discard it if it doesn't resonate with you. But I believe we're more than this one life. We're more than this physical body. And I just found it all really toxic. You know, when I had my infertility issues, I used to think, was it because of the chemotherapy and stuff like that? So it just, I think we get these little niggles in life where you think, hang on, is it chemotherapy, or I've got really bad insomnia from the night shifts? And then you get these little niggles that makes you question, am I where I'm meant to be? Is this bringing me alignment, you know? And it wasn't anymore. So I'd actually left nursing. And then I think it was so much of my identity that I went back. And then I remembered why I left. So I left again. Yeah. But, you know, I had to be a nurse to do like the coaching I do now. I do a lot of grief work. My second book's about grief. So I know why I was there, but it just didn't resonate with me. As my spirituality grew, really. And my soul, it might be this big, my soul now, because I've gone through so much loss. It's just like really feisty. But yeah, I'm just not the person I was when I went into nursing.
Yeah. And I totally resonate with that. Although I wasn't a nurse, I was a teacher at one point. Oh, wow. And yeah, and like you said, even it was so my identity that even when I left, I went back and became a supply teacher, because it was almost like, well, I didn't really know who I was away from that. So it was too much fear and too much scary stuff. So I thought, well, I'll just go back and do it, kind of. But it's your soul is calling you for more. Your soul is saying that this is not for you. But I still know that the transferable skills, the lessons that I gained from doing that position were meant to be. I say it happens for you, and you're able to use that in a different way. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. It's quite a courageous step though, isn't it? And I think one of the hardest things in life isn't us, how we perceive ourselves, it's people, how they remember you. So loads of people say to me, like, oh, I remember when you was a nurse, I remember when you did this. And it's this sort of like, to be honest, Casey, if people haven't met me or seen me since about 2014, let me reintroduce myself. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not that person that you hold in your mindset. That is not me anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, we grow and change all the time. You know, I saw a post and it said, if you knew me 6 months ago, let me introduce myself, you don't know me. It's like we're growing and changing all the time. So like you say, that person who we were doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. But I'm still very grateful to her, and I know that that's where she was at that point in her journey. But again, I know so much more now, so it's like it's constant change, isn't it?
Yeah, and thank goodness, really. Do you know what I mean? When you look back, you know, you think you're happy, then you look forward now and you're like, oh no, I prefer this actually.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's amazing how many people I think are in jobs that they hate simply because they're too frightened, and it's the safety net of the salary that they can't leap forward, even though they know in their heart that they really should. But just because you came here to make money and pay bills, there's more to it life than that. And doesn't mean you have to be miserable while you do that. You know, it's finding that thing that lights you up, isn't it? It's the key, really.
Yeah, I mean, I love interior design. I'm really, like I say, with my bright colours and soft fabrics behind me, I absolutely love that. But I had like one of those little light bulb moments whilst driving to work at 6:30 a.m. You know, just sort of like, I'm going to a job to pay for the house that I'm not in, and it just became really aware that I was, you know, going out to get the money to buy all these nice, you know, cushions and random things. Not random things, they're essentials, really. Cushions.
Yeah, of course.
But I wasn't spending much time in the home that I was, you know, trying to get all this money for, and it would just become crazy. Like by the time I paid out nursery fees, you know, and school meals and cushions, you know, there wasn't really much there. And I was just thinking, you know, you just get to this point in life, you say you get stuck in that hamster wheel, and you're thinking, I'm not going anywhere. I think I am because I'm busy. Yeah. You're not busy and moving, you're just busy and staying, really.
Yeah, it's almost like surviving rather than living, right? There's there's very different energy in it.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. We've both been there, and it's so draining because it's not just a physical tiredness. I think it's deeper than that. It's a mental, but it's also a soul level, because you, like you say, you know in your heart that this is not why you're here. This is not what you came here to do. It's very draining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you wish you know when you started out on your journey that you know now?
Oh my God, it would have to be speak your truth. You won't know this because I haven't stopped talking, but I was painfully shy as a child. I was honest. Making up for lost time, Katie. I was really shy as a child. I mean, my parents loved it because at school, I never had to pay for a school photo because I couldn't look at the camera. I was just like almost withdrawn. I was so painfully shy. And I didn't speak out. And I don't think it's in my book, you know, but I've had quite a difficult background. I've been like subject to domestic violence in the past, on at least 2 occasions and things like that. And I was told, you don't speak about that in our family. That doesn't happen in our family, you know, and lots of things that I haven't spoken about. And this is controversial, but this is Shelley's world. When I used to nurse breast cancer patients for chemotherapy, you know, you used to sit there administering the chemotherapy, captive audience, you can't go because I've got needle in your arm. And loads of the breast cancer people or people with throat cancer would say, oh, I'm so glad I got that off my chest. I'm so glad I got those words out. And I started to recognize this in me. I used to get tonsillitis, sore throat, you know, chest infections and things like that. And I was thinking, what's going on? And I know it's controversial, but I am me. And speaking your truth, I think we need to get our words out. And as a disclaimer, when I say speak your truth, it doesn't mean what I say is true. It's just how I understand it, but it's still valid. But yeah, I mean, I've held in so much poo. We'll keep it nice for YouTube. I've kept so much of my experience in and not spoken about it because that doesn't happen in our family, or not because we know their family, and because I was really shy. And here I am now, 47, podcaster, do a bit of Facebook Live, you know, stand up for anyone.
I think it's true that the old generation, they would say, you know, we don't share our personal business. It's we keep it in the family. And so you say these things would happen, and it's almost like there was a shame quality to it. It was a shame that it happened, and so you didn't go and share it with other people because it was something that was almost like it had a bad reflection on the family as a whole, right? So, but that in itself is so toxic because you then carry that shame into you, like you feel like you've done something wrong, which in itself is so poisonous to our system. And I totally agree with you. I do think, and it probably is quite controversial to some, but I do think if you are pushing stuff down and bottling and whatever it may be, it has an effect somewhere. I know that when I was going through the breakdown of my marriage and I wasn't speaking my truth and I was pushing everything down to be a people pleaser and not rock the boat, I ended up with stress-related IBS because it has to come out somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I do resonate with that. But what's great, like you say, is that you've now found your voice. So you are definitely making up for it.
Well, I think it's a great thing, and I'm sure everyone agrees.
No, it's good. I think it's empowering, because you'd be surprised how many people out there are just not standing in their power at all, and they're still in that people-pleasing, don't rock the boat space, which is so not great.
Yeah, I think a lot of it probably comes, as I say, working from end of life. And I think all nurses and carers will have one patient they remember. And it was a Scottish guy, and he come in with esophageal cancer, so like near your windpipe. Even now it gets me. So he'd never spoken his truth, and he was probably about my age now. I mean, I was younger when I was nursing, but he's probably like heading towards 50. And he'd always like married the girl his parents said, done the job that his dad had said, and everything. And he'd never spoken his truth. And then he got esophageal cancer and was going to have his voice box removed. So then he couldn't speak. And it's just stuck with me, Katie. You know what I mean? That we really think that we know what we're doing, this thing called life, and we don't, you know. And I've nursed millionaires in mansions and many people. And what I've learned is, you know, especially from the millionaires, that you'll always know how much money you've got, but you're not going to know how much time you've got. And so if you're not saying something, please say it. Do you know what I mean? Because this Scottish man had spent like, you know, nearly 5 decades not living his life, not speaking his truth, and he was about to have it removed. And then he just was like me, like get it all out quick.
Yeah.
But it stuck with me that we never know how much time we've got, you know. So just speak out, you know.
Absolutely. Especially over the last year, like you said, the futility of life, and we never know when our time's up. Although I do believe we choose our time for passing before we come here, but we never know consciously what that is. And so you have to make the most of the time that you have. You know, I know it sounds a bit like something that your grandma used to say, but you could be hit by a bus tomorrow. You know, you have to live each day like it is your last day, and you have to make the most of each moment, because we don't know, right? So if you're thinking, oh, well, wait until things are better, or I'll wait until this, I've done this, or I'll, that magical wait time may never come, but you have got right now, right?
Yeah, and it is that people always wait. I mean, I said I was really blessed to work at End of Life. It's one of those things like, why did I nurse? It's like, because it's maybe who I am today, you know, and I do live by these life lessons, and you just have to get on with it. I mean, people just say, oh, you know, when we've got 5,000 in the bank, when we've had our first child, when we got our first home, when I got that sort of grade at nursing, or whatever they were doing, but nothing's a given. As you say, like the last year, you know, the young, the healthy, you know, they've died. You know, maybe it's like a severe awakening for us all, but we don't know. You know, like everyone had these big top-notch jobs and they haven't got any job now. And I think that's shaken up the universe, good and bad. That, you know, jobs have gone, lives have gone, and you know, life is precious.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
From it, yeah,
definitely. So, speaking of life, what has been your hardest lesson that you have learned on this journey so far, and what did it teach you?
Oh, my hardest lesson has got to be my fertility journey. It's just been horrific. And people don't think it has been horrific because we've got 4 children, and that causes quite a lot of unkind comments, sort of like, do you know what causes it, you know, kind of thing. Have you not got a TV in your bedroom? We haven't actually, so that could be one of the reasons. But we've got 4 children. My life-changing event, the reason why I had that semicolon moment and wrote Positive Changes, a self-kick book, was because we had the ones I'm aware of. So basically, I think I've been pregnant around 11 times, and we have 4 children. And my last pregnancy was Daisy, so it's happy ending, she's got a name, was Daisy, and she was one of triplets, it was believed. And I just kept sort of bleeding. And then we got to 20 weeks and was told to terminate her. She wasn't, you know, viable, and she would die by 28 weeks of gestation pregnancy. I'm a bit of a spooky kid, Katie. So I'd seen her in dreams for many years. I'd seen her for about 18 months, 2 years, little dark haired, petite girl to come. And I literally took that vision and went with it, but had to get to a different hospital, had to defy medical advice and opinion. But yeah, it's a really hard psychological journey. And it was my semicolon moment, you know, because she was my fourth. I showed really easily. She had like 1 in 80,000 chance of making it. She had a very rare condition called CCAM and a pulmonary secretization. So basically, she just had cysts instead of lungs, and really hard lesson. But all of it, like, I've had many losses before her, and I say she was one of triplets. But when I come out the other side, you think, why on earth me, kind of thing. It's just makes me. She's called Daisy because Daisy means day's eye. So I just thought every day I wake up and I see her, I'll be grateful. And I am. She's like an earth angel. She's amazing. So my lesson in that was, again, like, there's so many lessons in it, Casey, but one would be for people to just realize how much power we carry inside of us. We give so much of our power away. It's probably another reason I left nursing, if I'm honest, because especially generations like my granny, you know, if she was ill, she'd say, do what you want, doctor. Whereas I was told terminate, and I was like, no, I'm not. She's in my body. Yeah. If I've met her, I'm going to throw everything at her, which is how the book came about, because it was just sort of like, I'm going to try meditation, psychic surgery, visualization, affirmations, daily exercise, future visioning. You know, I was trying it all. And so my lesson would be to just realize how much power we have within us. Always trust yourself, your body, your visions, you know, step away from the noise. I think it's helped me a lot with my grief work. I set up a death cafe when I left nursing, just because I still wanted to help people that, you know, life gets stuck after death of a loved one. So it's helped me with grief. It's helped me keep me really balanced. So, you know, I know we can joke sort of like podcast award winner and, you know, like author and author again. But my family's my everything at the end of the day. And I think, you know, like maybe when I started out on my journey, I was just sort of, oh, have a kid, you know, that'd be nice. But I think because my journey has been so hard, I really appreciate my family. Like we said at the start, how was lockdown? I was like, I loved it. I was with my family. And they keep me down to earth. Do you know what I mean? Like they joke, they say, my teenager, Mum, I Googled you today. You got the first 3 pages. Brilliant, son. Thank you. I was doing that information. And I was recently in the local newspaper for a good thing, for the podcast award, not crime stuff. I was in the local newspapers, and my son was like, oh, look, you're more famous. But they just keep me down to earth. You know, we was climbing trees at the weekend, and we was like making hot chocolate. So the lessons would be, remember how powerful you are, appreciate the loved ones around you. Don't ever get complacent about how far you've come in life. Yeah. I'll be set so sort of like, oh God, here we are today. I'm still in that job. But you did so much more before who you are today. And you'll do so much more in the future. And yeah, it's just about living your best life, really. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, I totally agree with you. I used to be a real victim to my life and kind of, why is this happening to me? And then I realized that actually things happen for you, and it's what you do with them that really counts. You know, you can be a victim forever of your circumstance and carry it with you, and life's not fair and it's somebody else's fault and, you know, all this stuff. But it's your responsibility to look after your own happiness and your own well-being, and to turn it around for yourself, to live your best life for you, and whatever that looks like, isn't it? Because being a victim is not living your best life. You know, you can't change what's happened, but you can change what happens next.
Yeah, and I see that now with my daughter. We've got 4 children. We've got 2 boys, 2 girls. We say 1 of each in a spare set, Casey. And our 10-year-old daughter is like really like emotional, and she'll be like, oh, I need this to make me happy. I need that friendship. It's like, you need to make yourself happy, girl. Do you know what I mean? Start with you always. So even at 10, she's thinking everything's external, you know, in our teenager likes all the designer stuff, and it's like, people aren't going to remember you by your shoes, mate. Do you know what I mean? In 10 years time, they're not going to remember your Nikes.
No, absolutely. It's that saying, isn't it? People won't always remember what you said, but not always remember how you made them feel.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. But it's like I said to you before, some of us take a bit longer to understand the lessons than other people. Everyone's on their own journey. We just have to keep showing up, really, and kind of try and inspire people to live their best lives, I think, is the key.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people think I've just galloped through life on a unicorn, sprinkling glitter as I go, you know, and because like you're a public figure as an author and podcaster, people think they know you. And it's just like, but you don't know my story. Do you know what I mean? And I wish I'd had a unicorn. I had a dog growing up and a lacerating cat, but I never had a unicorn. And I would love that. And I love that. But I do what I do because I've been there. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, we've got my grandparents, we've lost at least 7 pregnancies that I know of. You know, I've done the nursing. I'm a bit of a kooky kid now. I've walked the walk, do the talk. And so, yeah, with no unicorn by my side.
Well, not one that you can see, right?
No.
It's always there in spirit, right? We know this. So if you could jump in a DeLorean with Doc and Marty McFly and travel back to your childhood at any age, what would you say to your younger self?
Oh, it would have to be another life lessons of the dying, really. And it would be live your life, not someone else's version of it. Because it took me back when you asked the question, and I was sort of around sort of 16, and I was sort of like painfully shy, quiet. I know it's hard to imagine, but I was quiet. And I was going to college, but my dad really wanted me to be sort of like, you know, secretary of 2.4 children and a Labrador. And but that was just as I started to get the rumblings that I'm not really the most conforming type, Katie. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to hang out with the boys, because girls used to sort of, you know, talk about periods and makeup, and I was like, I'm going to go and have Nuki Brown with me mates. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. So yeah, live your life, not someone else's version of it. And you know, even now, like when I was leaving nursing, I was like, should I, shouldn't I? All about the money. Do you know what I mean? What if my husband hasn't got a job and stuff like that? But you think, it comes back to, you know, life is really precious. So yeah, I just tell myself, like, live your life. And I did. I rebellious pockets. I went traveling for like a couple of years, you know, even quitting nursing. People said, when you get a proper job again, this is it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but it would be just to reassure myself, like, live your life or speak your truth again.
Absolutely, which is kind of go hand in hand, don't it, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, because you can't really live your life if you live with somebody else's truth, can you? So yeah. I like that. I like that a lot.
My machine. If I need to get rid of my frown lines, but go back a decade.
Well, I was born in Merseyside, so what you need is this what's called a Scouse ponytail, which is where you have a really high, tight ponytail and it pulls your face back. That's what you need. One of them.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. There's a positive change right there.
Bit of a tangent, but you know, you never know who's watching, that may help somebody. Oh, goodness me. Speaking of which, who inspires you to be your best self on a daily?
It's my daughter, Daisy, really. Yeah. I mean, that makes it sound like she's my favourite. She's not, but she was like the greatest lesson. And like when I look at her, she is just beautiful. Like, I talk aloud quite a lot. I think you do when you're self-employed, but you sort of talk to yourself, and I'll be like, oh, I need to go and get my cardigan, or where did I put my water? And she'll just come running in with it. And she reminds me, just like, we really need to be kinder. And she's just beautiful. She sees the world in a really lovely way. I mean, admittedly, she was like, you know, zapped with Reiki, psychic surgery and everything when she was in my tummy. So she was always going to be spiritual. But when I look at her, she makes me live my best life, because, as I said earlier, we forget how far we've come.
Yeah.
You know, like, she was one of many losses. And I think if I look at her, I think I'm capable of anything. Why do I not wear a cape on a Thursday? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it'd be my youngest daughter. That's
beautiful. It really is. So for all those people who perhaps are not shining and feeling great right now, and, you know, not standing in their power, what advice would you have for those people right now to try and turn things around?
It's a really simple one. So, but I like it. It's simple because you've got no excuse not to do it. And that is to take at least 10 minutes every day to sit in silence with yourself. We're just always so busy running around and filling a void, whether that's alcohol, smoking, working, you know, Netflix, whatever they're doing, which is not going to take them to their next level. It's not going to get them out of their current reality. So I just say sit for 10 minutes and let the emotions come up, the words come up, whatever. And it's quite hard. You think I can sit there for 10 minutes, that's easy. But it's not, because you start thinking I'm a bit uncomfortable, all these thoughts coming in. So I think because I worry, it's like that's the right word, but I'm aware that people are living their life, but they don't always know what they want from life. I'd encourage them to sit down for 10 minutes, pen and paper, and just see what comes up for them, and just keep sitting every day for 10 minutes to see what comes up about what it is they really want from life, or what they don't want. Sometimes we have to work backwards. If we have a negative mindset, sometimes we have to think what we don't want and work backwards. Or even like, at the end of your life, maybe this is quite macabre, but in my book, I get you to write a eulogy, your own eulogy. But if in those 10 minutes, think about your end of your life, what do you want to have achieved, and work back towards it. But yeah, 10 minutes me time every day.
Yeah, which if you think, we're all busy, we've all got things that we need to do, jobs and children in the house and everything. But if there's 24 hours in one day, I think you can give yourself 10 minutes out of 24 hours. And if you can't, then you really need to look at your life and see if you can, because you deserve that time, you are as important as anybody else. And if you don't prioritize yourself, then you're going to be on the bottom of a very long list, right? So it's important. It really is. Show up for yourself.
Yeah, 10 minutes is no time at all. And someone recently said this snippet, which I love. They said that when we lose ourselves in social media, so when you're scrolling through Facebook, they're saying you're investing more interest in someone else's life than your own life. And I was like, wow, so it is that 10 minutes of scrolling, you could get up and be with yourself. Because probably not going to be what you read on social media anyway, is there? I remember years ago, we lived next to this couple who used to row like mad. But then within that 5 minutes of silence where they've probably gone into separate rooms, you'd upload a smiley picture of them both. And people would be like, oh, you look so lovely. Oh, when you get married, But the reality was, they've just been screaming. She's obviously trying to remind herself of the happier times. So don't believe everything on social media. Spend 10 minutes with yourself instead.
Absolutely. That's why the comparison trap is so dangerous, because they look at all these people on social media with all these best lives and holidays and houses and relationships. People only show you their highlight reel. Nobody's posting about their failures. And so if you're comparing yourself to all these people that you're watching as you scroll, it's going to make you feel like crap. You need to just focus on yourself. If you want your grass to be greener rather than on the other side, then you've got to water your own grass, right? Bottom line.
Yeah, I go on and share videos and make myself laugh on Facebook, really, because I'm just sort of like, I've had a poo day and this is why, but you've got this. And I think you need to share that because, we inspire people through our books and podcasts. That's amazing. But you also have to say, God, I'm having a duvet day. Oh my God, my podcasting has gone absolutely rubbish today. And that's what, I share, because I don't want anyone to hold me on a pedestal and think that I'm like it all the time. I am still searching for the unicorn, but I have duvet days in between.
Yeah, and I made that commitment a couple of years ago to be authentic in everything that I did. So I post the good stuff. I also talk about when I'm not in the good space, when I'm not having a good day, because I think that's just as important, if not more so. Because otherwise people think that there's something wrong with them when they're in that space. Actually, there's not. It's called being a human being living in the world. It's, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's hard. And so to see other people talking about that and being honest makes you kind of realize that you're not some weirdo in a boat on your own.
It's true though. We do all these inspirational posts, but sometimes you think, like me on Saturday having a day from hell, that's probably going to help somebody more, especially if they're not of that positive mindset and they're thinking like, oh, I like the fact she's having a bad day and it looks like a bit of old chewed string. That's very relatable.
Yeah, exactly. So what's next for you on your journey? What plans do you have moving forward?
So got the second book coming out. It's got a very long title, thanks to O-Books, who've extended my idea. So it was Good Grief. Now it's Good Grief, the A to Z approach of modern day grief healing, if you will. So that's September. But I'm also going to go into like a spiritual coaching, because as we've discovered, not everyone's a reader, not everyone's a podcaster, not even everyone's watching me on YouTube. So I'm just always finding ways to inspire people. So going into coaching like small people on a one-to-one, but it draws on the tools from positive changes, where I want you to get one positive change using spiritual tools. So
that sounds wonderful.
Coaching, grief, and whatever the universe has planned. Can only
Yeah, I think like I totally with you on that one. I think you've always got to kind of realize, like you say, that everybody responds and resonates to the same thing. So it's trying to reach as many people in as many different ways as possible, right?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, I've been there. I've had that thing where I think I don't want to go on in life, and I had, even now I've got the most stunning husband. I have the most gorgeous kids, but when I had the 3 children and my husband and this bump, it wasn't enough,
Yeah.
because life is overwhelming. Sometimes we just want the quickest exit door, don't we? And so I'm so passionate about helping people like move on. It feels impossible. You feel invisible, but you truly have got this. So
yeah, absolutely
working on all platforms, even with my lockdown routes. Look, true. So
if you look back at the interviews I did last year, my hair length was about here, and now it just keeps growing. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so last question, my darling. I called these the glow interviews because I wanted to bring some light to the darkness and wanted to kind of inspire people and help them in a way that I could. So in that vein, what lights you up and brings you joy?
Oh, just being stupid. I'm always winding my husband up and my kids. Do you know what I mean? I just love playing silly. Like, so the weekend we went out, was climbing tree things. Just now, my husband was going on a call. I thought it'd be really nice to make him a cup of tea and a little pan of chocolat. But he needed his laptop, so I put one behind the mouse, one in front of his laptop, and I just make myself laugh, sort of like I say to my husband, I'm going to bed now, and I can fill it with pillows and I'll hide in the bathroom. Being silly lights me up, do you know what I mean? I just love it.
I love that, because life is so heavy and hard and stressful, and I think being best friends with your inner child makes the process a lot easier.
Yeah, I was like, only a few years ago when I was singing, I think it was like Happy Birthday, I was singing something. My husband was just like, oh, you actually sing that bad? I thought you sang like that to entertain the children. And so now I'll just go and serenade him just because it makes me laugh and he hates it. But I thought, well, you put it on yourself, really. Love like attracts like. But yeah, I sing badly, hide things. Like the kids are making lunch or something, when they turn into the fridge, I move the plate. So just being silly, I love. That's what lights me up. The simple things in life, because I think when you get to your end of life, it's not the big things. Do you know what I mean? No. It is the little things. And luckily, I've got a little mind, so that's perfect.
Bless you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've enjoyed this conversation so much. It's been really interesting, but we've had some giggles as well, which is what I always love. So where can people find out more about you? Where can they go and source everything that you do? Oh, bless you. So I'm Shelley F. Knight, and that's the same on all social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook or Twitter. And then I've got shelleyfknight.com, the website, and you can access the podcast there, buy the book, subscribe to the newsletter, whatever else you find. Be lovely. Oh, wonderful. And I'll put all that down here. So once you get off this video, go and check her out, because she is really, really amazing. And I thank you so much for showing up for me today, Shelley. It's been such a good conversation, and I really hope that everyone watched it has enjoyed it. Oh, thank you, soul sister. Much love. And take care, everybody. Thank you for watching this video. Sending you lots of love, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye. And stop.